Welcome to the Night Shift Court podcast. I'm Pidge.
And I'm Moen.
We are two shift-working fantasy book lovers and love nothing more than leaving reality behind for a bookish adventure.
Join us as we go under the mountain to discuss our favourite fantasy fiction tales and the authors behind them. Come with us to explore the stories, one shift at a time.
Hi, ladies.
Hi! Welcome back! It's getting closer to Christmas.
It is. I'm so excited.
I'm getting excited to finish this book.
Yeah, this book is shit.
I now know why people are like, do I read it? And I'm always of the opinion that yes, you have to. You can't miss it. It's important. But after reading it a second time, I was like, is it though?
Yeah, I feel like on the first read of the series, it is important because there's a lot in ACOFAS. And so you're quite hyped up, I would say, and this is nice. But for me, there's not enough movement of the story to keep me engaged.
Yeah.
The only reason I read it was because I like the characters.
Of course.
So I read it.
Yes.
Because you get to see more of their personalities, but otherwise it's quite stagnant, I would say.
It is.
So in celebration of that, we will be doing our completion of this book this episode.
Oh, can't wait.
Because we're honestly very bored and we have raging ADHD, raging ADHD,
Yes.
and we are far too bored to continue talking about nothingness.
Snooze fest.
Anyway, this is episode 47.
It is. We're finishing chapters 20.
21 to 28.
And we're going to wrap it up with our final thoughts, which namely we've just gone through.
Yeah.
Shit.
Before we started recording.
We love you, Sarah, but snooze.
Yeah.
But who's this episode dedicated to?
So this episode's dedicated to Rare 25, which if you don't know what it is, you should. And now's a very inconvenient time to tell you because the tickets are likely sold out, but here we are.
Good.
Anyway, Rare 25 is romance, author and reader events. For 2025. It's an event that happens in Melbourne and it's essentially exactly what you would expect. It's a book signing event and there's
Fabulous.
a bunch of authors there which you have the list for, which are all subcategorised, so you can go through and choose who you want to pre-order books from and you can get them signed. And then
Amazing.
They also have a shipping option because obviously we're from Tassie. I don't want to be hauling a bunch of books back
That's
in
a
my
heavy bag.
suitcase.
That's a heavy bag.
I will be doing a lot of ordering.
Great.
You can get them shipped back.
I have to put my order in.
Yes. Oh, yes. You'll be getting a gift from there for your birthday next year.
Love that for me.
So anyway, very excited. It's in October.
Fabulous.
Next year in Melbourne. And if there's anyone listening who wants to catch up while I'm there, send us a DM. Please.
Gosh, I'm so jealous.
Yes, I know.
Yes, I will be very busy.
You can't go anywhere until your one task of the next 12 months is done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a baby to conceive and grow.
You've got to cook it.
I do.
You're far too busy cooking.
Yeah, the bun needs to be in the oven and on hot.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay.
So we start off this chapter in Cassian's point of view, and he essentially decides that he is sick of Nestor's lack of caring, not speaking with anyone or adding essentially any value in any way to their family or court. He reaches her in the front yard. You'll remember from last episode that he ran out the door after her into the snow after the solstice celebration. So he catches up to her and offers to walk her home.
Yes, and she's not interested. She's absolutely like, can you leave me be?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, no, I needed some fresh air anyway. That's what a stalker would say.
Absolutely. But I admire his perseverance.
So Cassian needs some fresh air and he has a gift for her. He brought her a solstice gift and she says, I don't want it.
This thing took him months to find.
You know, I've already done my research for the next book and we still don't know what it is.
It really frustrates me.
Yeah. So he knows that she's still healing after the war and he tells himself that he doesn't care about the drinking or the males or specifically the one that took her virginity.
Yeah. The fact that she doesn't care who took her virginity is the most self-destructive behaviour here.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with that. So he does in fact remember a time though that Nesta kneed him in the crutch at her father's estate when she was still immortal.
Yeah.
And if you will remember back to that episode that we did, we talked about how she gave him a vulgar gesture that Feyre wasn't sure that she knew how to make. I reckon it was then.
Probably.
I would love to have seen the behind the scenes interaction between the two of them.
Me too. So the thing that's interesting about this exchange is that he's remembering how she was willing to die for him in the battle. And that version of Nesta is completely and utterly misplaced from this exchange because they have a huge fight which ends in a rather big vulgar gesture in my opinion. She yeets
She does.
the present into the Sidra.
Not me jumping in after it.
Absolutely.
We just talked before about how I'm never swimming.
You are absolutely swimming for that present.
I'm swimming. Whatever. And I picture it.
You're like,
I picture it to be small, right?
Yeah.
I picture it to be a piece of jewellery. But what if, in fact, it was mammoth? He's just using all of his muscles. What is it? His back muscles bunching.
rippling.
He eats this like surfboard-sized box into the Sidra, and everyone else is like, what?
Yeah. Well, who would know? Yes, it's not this little ploop. It's this this tidal wave.
The people at the restaurant
Gets
the tsunami of Valaris occurs, and you and I in the snow are taking off our clothes and jumping in.
we are
to
doing
find it.
a Harry Potter to get that locket.
Yeah. We have the shark head or the gills.
I'm the bobble-headed charm, yes.
Oh, I'll be the shark head.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, that is what it is. I know the bobble-headed charm is the air
The
pocket.
air,
Yes,
the air bubble. Yeah. You be the
my
normal
mistake.
one. I'll be the
You be the
animagus.
Victor Crumb of the Hogwarts.
Exactly. Right. So he throws this gift. We're not sure how big or small it is, but it's gone skiing.
Yeah.
And we move to Nesta's point of view for the rest of the chapter now. And she shuts her apartment door and clicks 4 locks into place.
Why 4?
I don't know.
One for Feyre, one for Reese,
One for Cassian.
one for Cassian, and one for Amryn, who
yes.
she has no love for anymore.
No, exactly. She knows in her heart of hearts that Cassian still flew in the sky behind her and followed her home. In fact, she hears wing beats outside of her window and she slides down and sits on the floor. We've all been there.
We actually,
She feels a chill coming through the apartment. So she's in, remember, old decrepit departmento
yes,
of housing.
Houso, yeah.
And but she doesn't light the fire. So this is the first time that we hear about the reference to fire, which is interesting considering Nesta, as per the draws, the rule of draws, the rule of thirds, is that she is fire.
Yes.
All of a sudden she thinks that the fire reminds her too much of the sounds of a neck being broken, which is very sad because obviously what happened with her father, but also symbolism, right? She is fire and now all of a sudden she hates fire.
Yes.
And I think we've mentioned before about how a lot of people start to not like Nesta's character now. She started getting on board with the group, didn't she, in the last few books? Now she's not so much. And they say that if you hate Nesta's character at this point, it's because Nesta hates herself as well.
Yeah, self-loathing, absolutely. It's a big shift that she goes through and we sort of start to see her humanise in some parts, and that's where our interest is piqued, and then she's dehumanised by her venom that she spits at everyone, and then everyone hates her again. In the beginning of Silver Flames, we get that upwards inflection again. I'm so looking forward to it.
I think we're both very excited.
Yes.
So Cassian returns at 3 a.m. specifically, knocks back a glass of alcohol and heads upstairs, and Moore follows him.
Can we just talk about alcohol for a second? Because we have to fill out this episode clearly.
Go ahead.
I would love to be the sort of person who could just have a shot of like a whiskey. I love the smell of a whiskey.
Okay.
But I find it, completely undrinkable. the way that like hardcore women will just have like a finger of whiskey when they're trying to. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I wish I was that cool.
I don't think they're that cool. I think they're trying to look cool and to keep up with whoever the fuck it is that they think they should keep up with.
Yeah.
No, nobody my age or even in the vicinity of my age likes just a bit of alcohol in a glass, in a cup with no ice, no nothing. No one likes that.
You know the crystal vases on the little trolley.
The decanter.
And the beautiful cup. And I want to be like that, but I want it filled with apple juice.
Or tea.
Iced tea. Yeah.
No, I find it very difficult to believe that there are people out there who would just sit down to some warm alcohol in a cup.
Yeah.
It's not for me. It's not for anyone I know.
Yeah, it's the Harvey Specters of the world.
Yeah, but even then I think you're a wanker. You know? I think anyone who does that is a bit of a wanker.
Fair.
You know, fruity cocktail is okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like people drink drinks like that to be cool.
Yeah.
They don't taste good. So her and Reese leave Elaine explaining her plans to extend the garden to Asriel. And can you imagine what he is thinking? Honestly, who is talking about extending a garden at 3 a.m? It's like those drunk people that think that what they're explaining is cool.
Is important and it's not. Yeah.
As someone who has worked in a bar and been there at the 3 a.m. when all the super drunk men just hang around the bar and want to talk to the bar women and tell them, actually, I had a stalker do that.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he was telling me how his uncle was Nutrigrain Man? Iron Man, not Nutrigrain. Iron Man.
I was like, fuck is Nutrigrain Man? Trying to picture like the tiger from whatever cereal there's a tiger. Trying to picture what was on Nutrigrain boxes.
Sorry, it was Iron Man.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, his uncle was Iron Man.
Right.
And then he said, do you want to see me do a high kick? And then he did it and he split his pants. And it was the best day of my life.
Oh my gosh, I hope he's listening.
No, I don't. If he's still stalking me 15 years later.
Yeah, he would be.
Well, he's committed.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
Committed man.
Which is more than we can say about most men.
Yes, that's right. Right, now, he winnows her to the cabin for a little bit of peace and quiet. And this is where things get weird. So he tells her that she looks beautiful and she admits that she loves the gown. Reese admits that his mother made it for her, which is so sweet. So she, if you will recall, was a seamstress in the war and she continued to sew even though she was mated to the High Lord. And she essentially made all these beautiful gowns for Reese's one day would-be mate.
Yeah.
Or potentially for Reese's sister who never got to wear them, but now they belong to Feyre.
Yes.
And she says that since he no longer uses the hand or tattoo, the eye that she has tattooed on her hand to spy on her, that she wants to have them changed. And she explains that she wants what Reese has on his knees, which is the Night Court insignia.
Yes.
He says that they cannot be changed, and I'm thinking, it's a tattoo of, like, I know.
If the Fae
Thank you, though.
But also if the humans can do it and the Fae can do it.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Cover
and
up.
also she is the High Lord. Sorry, she is the High Lady.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm like, cool. If she didn't want that, then she wouldn't have. Anyway, so before he does that, she tells him that she has another gift for him, and they have a Bella and Edward moment.
Yeah.
Where she uses the imagery inside of her brain to show and project an image to him and somehow tell him that she's ready to have a child. I think she shows him a picture of the bone carver.
Yeah, which is odd.
Because he'd be like, he's dead.
Yeah.
Thank you, though,
Yes.
Feyre. I'm not sure what you're getting at.
I'll find that strange. But anyway.
He picks up on what she's putting down, even though I didn't. And then he proceeds to fulfill her fantasy, removing the pictures from their picture hooks in the wall in a rather aggressive fashion.
Yes.
So this is where I get a little bit confused, where he lets her into his mind and she's like, can we do it in here too? And I am not sure what's happening.
Yeah, I think that they're basically, it's like Inception. Or they're having a foursome.
Yeah, look, I read it again and again and again to try and make sense of it. And
You know what it is?
go ahead.
I figured it out. They're watching porn of themselves that they've recorded.
Yes.
They're watching porn of themselves.
Yes.
Because, and it might be real time. We don't need, that's semantics.
Irrelevant.
Scaman. They've got the projector screen of the porn they recorded last week
Yeah.
and they're doing it to it.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. You're welcome, everyone. You're welcome.
That is actually a very good explanation. I think I understand now. But at the time, things did occur that I did not understand. And then she does a really creepy thing, which is show Reese right before he climaxes an image of the bone carver's face. What?
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable.
I'm too, wildly. Because I don't care how bad you want a baby, because
Trust me, you would know.
I would know. There is nothing about trying to make a baby that is sexy.
Yeah.
So you can't double up that. Just have the good time. Think about the fact that you may have done it the right way in order to conceive later.
Yeah.
But generally the things you do in the dirty, dirty foursome porn watching that you're doing
Hallway.
is not conducive to being babies.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable because I sort of almost picture this as one of those situations where like someone says something to you right before you have an orgasm to get like your consent about something, like in Sex and the City, you know, where Charlotte and whatever the bald man's name is, about him being Jewish. Yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah.
No, it's weird. I don't like it and I'm uncomfortable.
Oh, wasn't it about her? He wanted her to be Jewish, so that she. Yeah.
Yes. That's right. Yes. Anyway, it makes me uncomfortable.
Whatever.
So when they're all done with whatever it was that they just did, they look and they said that all the frames have not only fallen off the walls, but they're broken.
Oh,
which
fancy
was
that.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
You know.
Reparo that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And then something else happens, which also makes me a bit wildly uncomfortable. She says, I've never been so glad for a Faye mate, before he instantly gets another erection.
Oh, so he's ready to go just like that.
How does that work?
Yeah.
So that's a thing amongst Faye males.
Yeah. Do you have to be mates though?
I don't know.
Or is it just like anyone? You know?
I don't know, Sarah. Please explain.
I mean, I'm not mad about that.
Look, I'm not mad about it, but I'm also just like, can we talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah.
Because we didn't know that. This
Yeah.
is the only new thing that we learn in this whole book.
Yeah.
It's like one sentence and we don't ever learn any more.
I feel like a lot of books in the non-fantasy romance genre talk about men being ready almost immediately. It's like, fuck off. That's so bullshit.
Yeah, no, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in the hours afterwards, honestly, how he winnows them to an estate along the river that's in ruin, and ta-da! This is his gift to her to build them a house, which
Cool.
is great. But also, I'm attached to the townhouse,
Same.
so I love it, and I'm a bit sad that they ended up building another house. But I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So Reese is preparing to go and visit Tamlin and has asked the summer court to essentially provide him with soldiers to protect the borders. As you can imagine, the exchange doesn't go particularly well.
No.
And Tam's just, I have no other way to describe this encounter and all encounters between Reese and Tamlin as Reese is gloating, Tamlin is sooking, it's exceedingly boring, and I don't want anything to do with Tamlin anymore.
And there's a deer there.
You tell me the rest, because that's all I have. Like,
okay, yeah. Look, I heavily agree with all you've just said. Reese is smug AF.
Yeah.
Tamlin's sad AF. And he says to Reese, do you think she will forgive me? Do I deserve it? And Reese is like, no. But he doesn't say that. Anyway, there's a big dead deer in the middle of the kitchen, and it's like leaking, dripping blood all over on the floor. So he's obviously gone and caught it in his beast form. And so Reese does him a favour and like uses his power to butcher the deer and then like turns on the stove and like flops a piece of the deer in the frying pan.
Mate, just leave him to it.
Yeah.
Why are you cooking him a veal steak?
I find the whole thing a bit strange. Like it honestly was a very unnecessary chapter. Anyway, she could have just written Tamlin is sad.
And then, he leaves and he's like, eat Tamlin.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck off, Reese. Like, as if he wants to, like, from Tamlin's perspective, he doesn't want to talk to you.
He's not going to eat that.
He's not going to do anything
that
you
you've touched
fucking
it.
say, dickhead.
Yeah.
And also, who cares?
Yeah. Who actually cares?
Yeah.
All right, now we move into Mor's point of view, which is actually quite interesting. She is taking a trip in between Solstice and her journeys that she'll take as the emissary, and she's going to the Winter Court's mountain home. So she rides through the snowy hills on a horse called Elia, and she travels to an estate called Ethelwood, which she actually owns.
It's hers, yeah. I actually really enjoyed this chapter.
Okay.
And not for many other reasons other than her describing, and you're horsey and I should have been. I love that she describes that being on horseback feels like actually traveling.
Yeah.
Whereas winnowing just felt like it was, I can't remember how she described it. Yeah, like that she was just falling from one place to the other. But this journey that she takes with Elia is like probably the most human thing that Moore ever describes or says. But I actually really like the way she enjoys it rather than you'd think that winnowing would be ultra convenient because wouldn't that be fab if I could just winnow home and winnow back and we could record all the time?
Yes, we could. Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing that I really liked about this interaction was that as someone who is horsey, riding horses fast over land is incredibly invigorating.
Yeah.
And especially if you have a horse that is your best friend and is a good, reliable horse and you know that a lot of it is just fun as opposed to training or you need to watch out because they're a spooky horse or whatever the situation is. It's really invigorating. So I love this for her. Yeah. And I love that she brought the estate and she brought the 6 horses that came with it and they're all rare breeds of horses. So she knows that she will travel soon as per Reese's request but waited to leave it until after solstice because that's a big deal for them. That's Christmas. And she stops on a hill and both herself and her horse sense something in the woods nearby. There's lots of theories about this situation, but she senses a patch of darkness between an area of thorns and it lingers and watches. And she describes it as familiar yet foreign.
What do you think? Because I have a theory about what I think, and I have not done any theory research, just the gut feeling of me reading.
Okay, go.
My theory is that it's a rip in the fabric.
Okay,
of the world, like it's a portal.
Okay.
I don't think it's something unless it's Briaxis who's being a bit sneaky. But that's that's what I think.
Yeah, okay. So the only thing that I had sort of looked up, which I haven't, as you know, read all of the other series, but I think it's a link to another series, specifically to Lord Thanatos from Crescent City and potentially a Prince of Hell from the other series. I don't know. I think it's in there because it could be anything.
Yeah, it's cool and it's definitely on purpose because nothing is coincidence.
That's right, yeah. She does decide to leave it alone and takes the short route back to the estate instead. So, yeah, again, I think it's just deliberate.
And also that's interesting that she doesn't pursue it because she's powerful and she still leaves it alone.
Yeah, yeah. So Feyre now stands in the doorway of her abandoned studio. She is hanging there with her mouth open, essentially.
Yes. Catching flies.
Yeah. She's the Venus flytrap of Valaris today. And she explains to her new business partner, Racina, that she had winnowed to the owner of the studio's farm early this morning and offered to buy it, but they refused her money and gave it to her instead.
I am in the wrong circle.
right?
Yeah.
So the family told Farah to donate the money to a charity called Bush and Chisel. No.
I will donate the money
No,
to myself, thanks.
I'm sorry, it's not called Bush.
Oh, it's not? What is it? And then I'll decide if I leave that in or not. Bush and?
Brush and Chisel.
I was like, that sounds oddly Australian. Bush and Chisel. Legitimately, I was like, Bush. Classic. Brush and Chisel. Copy.
Why is the like penis and vagina too much for me? Oh, dickhead. So it's actually a charity that supports the needs of artists.
That's cute.
So now there are 3 Illyrians, the only 3 that we care about at the moment, that are watching 6 girls training at Windhaven.
Oh, that's all you had too. Good. Oh, that's fine. Yes, I have. Reese is watching the females train at the camp.
Okay, cool. Well, all 3 of them are there, just FYI.
Yeah.
So apparently Reese and Asriel had showed Cassian their list, the burn book of the troublemakers that were causing discord in their camps, as you will remember. Most of it coming from the Iron Crest camp.
I wonder what's happening there.
Troublemaker. Windhaven camp's rival is Iron Crest. And there's a male there called Callan, the camp's lord's son. And he was the one who was trying the hardest to cause an uproar, essentially, about what happened in the war. When they actually got there, all the other women had fled inside, the ones that weren't training, especially from the sight of the shadow singer from Asriel. Isn't that funny how he's the scariest of all 3?
I mean, yes.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And Cassian essentially isn't happy that there's only 6 training in the camp, and that's it.
I mean, I get that because he's on a mission, as we know, to like empower the women and get them all strong, and the camp lords don't support that, and they're all about pushing the women down, much like our society. Keep them quiet, keep them weak.
That's essentially what's happening.
Yeah.
It's 2024 in Windhaven.
Exactly.
So we're a month later and Farah and Racina are standing inside of the studio. They've hung the tapestry on the wall, the void tapestry, you will remember.
Yes.
There are 10 stations set up, a bunch of kids come in, cause absolute chaos.
I kind of love this. They're having free sessions, and they have a full roster of classes whereby the children who need to express themselves through creativity to get through their psychological war issues can come and express their creativity and get their thoughts off their head and onto paper.
Yeah.
But what I love most is that there was a child who had drawn something. This is what I imagine my child doing, coming and venting about how I've told her off and that she's not able to get a toy, for example, and her drawing me angry with the toy with a big cross through it. It's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
So there's some very, deeply troubled children. There's others that are pissed that they're not getting their fucking Christmas present, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I pictured this as one of those wheel sessions where you put the clay on the wheel that spins and you have to mould it. Like I knew that they had set up the little stations, but I just pictured these kids trying to make vases.
Yeah.
And it's actually incredibly hard.
Yes. Well, I think there was painting, sculpting, and
sculpting is hard.
Drawing
hard
and
work.
lots of different things. Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
I'd like to go.
Yes. Me too, actually. Let's.
Yeah. So once the class is finished, Reese is waiting for Farah. How very domestic, right?
Yeah.
And they decide to go to lunch because the next class doesn't start until 2:00. So they're ready for some lunch.
Yeah.
They begin to walk and Farah says to him, "It's strange, this feeling, this excitement to wake up every day, to see you and to work and just be here." And Reese starts to cry. And I actually think it's really sweet because can you imagine him hearing this after Mist and Fury, right? All the shit he's been through.
Yeah.
This is what he wanted and he's got it.
Yeah.
And he says to her, "To the stars who listen, Farah," and she says, "To the dreams that answered Reese." And then that's the end of the book.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness that is the end. And I do like the way it finishes, and it is a true novella finish.
Yeah.
Like there's a,
Yes.
a
Everyone's
pause.
issues are solved, or the main character's issues are solved.
Those two are happy.
Yes.
And that's where it's left it.
Yeah.
And we know that there's more that they will have to endure in relation to other characters.
Yep.
But it kind of puts a little bow on Reese and Feyre's relationship.
Yeah.
But if a man cries, and I'm not saying men crying is anything bad, absolutely not, no problems. I don't consider it weak. I actually think it's a very strong man thing to do, to be able to express your emotions healthily with tears. But if I was like, oh, darling, I've got everything I ever wanted, and my man wept with happiness, I'd be like,
What are you doing?
absolutely not.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I think tears from men and from women should be in the same context.
Yes.
And depending on who you are as a person. So that situation would not make me cry.
No, absolutely not.
But the birth of a child,
Yes.
I cry. I would expect my husband to cry.
Fuck yeah.
The wedding day, you know,
things, the
some
big
people are
things.
criers, some people aren't. I'm not a crier on a wedding day. I'm a crier on other people's wedding day, but not my own because I was far too busy doing lots of shit. So, yes, it was a big deal. Anyway, so yes, I think it just depends on the context of it and whether you're a crier or you're not. But women and men should cry the same amount,
Yeah.
but over the same things.
Sure. I love the bow that's been put on their relationship. So let's put a bow on this book.
And never pick it up again.
Exactly. Because if I was to reread the series, I would not reread this book.
No.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not pick up this book again. Twice is enough.
Yeah, I agree. So do you have any final thoughts for...
I think I've made it abundantly clear that I think this is, the worst book. And I don't like to use the word worst because I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's still a book in this series which I deeply love for what it gave me. The whole series as a whole gave me my love for reading back. And that's something that I'm like super grateful for.
Yeah.
This book, do you have to read it? Yes. You have to read it once.
Yeah.
The main thing I would tell people is if they're not committed, like if they're not readers or if they're struggling to read, that they should switch to the Audible version and just listen to it.
Yeah.
But make a point of listening to it because it's really quick. Get it done so that you are ready. It's a perfect palate cleanser between one chunk of information that you get and then the beast that is Silver Flames.
Yeah.
You're going to need it because you can't go from one to the other without having some sort of break because they're too mammoth.
Yeah.
I like the development of Cassian and Nesta in the like curiosity that it gives towards the end, and it's like the
It's very different vibe than
sprouting.
The War.
Very different.
Yeah.
So they get to take a breath. This book is taking a breath in the series, and you need to take the breath because this is action from day dot.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Agree.
my thoughts.
Okay. Well, I both love and hate this book. I hate it because it's 28 chapters of the characters trying to get Nesta to come to dinner while simultaneously thinking of gift ideas for each other.
Yes.
And I love this book because Sarah can write 28 chapters about trying to get Nesta to come to dinner and what gifts to get each other, and I will still read that shit and gobble it up like cake. Thank you for a beautiful shift. That's it for this episode of the Night Shift Court podcast.
Join us again next week as we commence ACOFAS Book 5, A Court of Silver Flames.
Whichever platform you're listening on, we would so appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star review as it helps our podcast grow.
You can follow us at Instagram, Facebook and TikTok at The Night Shift Court.